Russ. Yeah, I'm back out on the road again. So what am I doing today? Well, I thought I'd take the Euphree City Robin X out on a range test. Yeah, we're gonna see how far this bike will go. But we're gonna stop here first. Too many cars. Let everybody do their thing. Then we do our own thing. Yeah, I have increasingly begun to believe that the range test is totally worthless for you guys. Okay, maybe not totally worthless if you weigh as much as I do or anything. Go ahead. All right. So, yeah, I'm beginning to believe that the range test isn't worth a whole lot to you unless you weigh the exact same amount as me, ride the exact same way that I do, throttle and pedal, have the same terrain that I have, same amount of hills. Otherwise, doesn't really mean a whole lot to you. All right, it'll give you some general idea, but I am about 260 pounds at this point. Yeah, that's not good. And here in the western suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, we don't have a whole lot of hills. We got some inclines here and there, but not a whole lot. As you know, with my bad knee and leg, I don't pedal the entire time. I throttle more now than I pedal. I used to actually pedal more than I throttle. I used to do about 70-30. Then it became like 50-50. Now I do more throttling than I do pedaling. So if you ride exactly the way I do and have all the same conditions as me, then this range test might mean something to you. So why do we do it? Well, I gotta know. I need to find out what the range is, because I've got to ride this bike, right? I got to know how far I can go on the battery and to be able to trust the battery to get me there, get me back. So that's why I do it, and this is why I encourage you guys to do your own range tests on your own bikes. Even if you buy this model, you got to do a range test, all right? It doesn't matter what I get, you got to know your own. The worst thing you can do is ride a distance, all right? I'm not talking just riding around in circles, riding a distance away and then decide to come back home and you don't have enough battery to get yourself home. Because the bikes in general are relatively heavy, they're not lightweight. It's a harder ride to ride by yourself at home. You kind of need a little bit of help sometimes, right? That's why we have pedal assists. That's why we have throttles. So you kind of need to know what you're able to do. I've always said that, you know, if you want to go someplace, whatever length of distance that is to get there, you got that same distance to get home. Yeah. So you know, if your battery does, let's say your battery does 25 miles. Well, you only got 12 and a half miles to go out, 12 and a half miles to get back. That's how I see it. So you need to know. Now, somebody recently asked me, well, Russ, how do you do a range test and be able to get the bike back home? I says, well, many of the manufacturers have given me a secondary battery, including Euphree. Euphree gave me a second battery. It's sitting on my rear rack. I'll show you a photo of it here. So I charged it, but I didn't charge it 100% fully. I decided this morning that I would take it out, but I had not opened up and charged that battery until today, and so I have probably about, I'm going to say 3.5 hours worth of charge on that battery. I don't know if it's full. I don't know if it's partial. I have no idea. Usually the manufacturers, when they send you a battery, it has some charge on it. All right, I'm back. After a coughing spree there. I don't know what, I don't know if something got in my throat somehow or whatever, but man, it got me a nice cough out of that. So the manufacturers will give you a battery that has some charge to it. They can't give it till you're totally dead. It's usually something on it. We just don't know how much, right? So I usually charge it until the little green light on the charger turns on, and then I'm done. But yeah, I wanted to get out, and so I don't know how much charge this thing has on that second battery, but 3.5 hours worth. It's probably got a decent amount of charge. I'm not gonna go out far, that is, until the battery dies. I'm gonna kind of swing around the neighborhoods, maybe do the forest preserves, I don't know. I'm not gonna go too far away, so even if my battery finally dies and I have to switch over to that other battery, it'll get me home. Yeah. I mean, the worst thing I could do is just keep going straight out until the battery dies. Then I probably don't have enough to bring myself back, because who knows what the second battery has for a charge, and who knows how far that battery can bring me. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to just keep heading out, circle around a while, you know, get used to that. So now, another thing I decided I would do for these range tests now is I'm going to ride it the way I typically would ride it, which means I'm going to pedal some, I'm going to throttle some, I'm going to conservatively throttle. I'm not going to like blast the throttle, because that just eats the power like crazy. But you know, if it was just an average ride, how would I typically ride the bike? That's what I'm going to try to do. And we won't be talking about this bike the entire time either, because that would be a long video waiting for this thing to finish. So I figured, you know, I just introduced the bikes now, tell you what I'm going to do, and then we go off on other topics. They have nothing to do with this bike at all. All right, go off on other topics, and then at the end of the video, I'll give you what the total range was when my battery finally gave up. How's that? So if all you really want to know is how far did this bike take you, yeah, I guess you could forward it all the way up to the end, and then you'll be done with me. I hope you don't do that, because we'll be talking about other things. Maybe those topics will be of interest to you as well. So going forward, that's how we'll do range test videos. Talk a little bit about the bike that we're using, talk a little bit about what we're done to do, go off and talk about other things, come back and finish and tell you what the total range was. And I'll probably just put it on a graphic. I may not actually physically say it, but it'll be up on a graphic at the end of the video. Okay? All right. But let me, before we go off on other topics, let me tell you a little bit about what I decided to do with that second battery and how I'm transporting it. You know, a lot of these batteries come with some type of foam or airbag type of insert to kind of protect the battery while it's being shipped. Well, this one, along with others that I've seen, have this really nice, it's kind of like an airbag, yeah, but it's really thick plastic that surrounds it, so the air doesn't pop or anything like that. So it's kind of like a sleeve, and that's what I have the battery in. It's the thing that was shipped, and I figured that's probably the safest thing to transport it in. So I kept thinking, how am I going to secure this? Because I usually just strap it to the rear rack with a bungee cord. Well, as you know, on the back of this the bike they gave me, I have a front basket, but I have a rear basket too, and that rear basket actually fits that battery, because the Euphree battery is kind of thick and short. It's not a long and narrow, it's a thick and short. So with it inside the bag, it kind of fits perfectly, kind of nice and snug in there. And then I just put a bungee cord over the top of it in case I tumble or something, that this battery doesn't come tumbling out or anything. I put a bungee cord over the top of it to kind of secure it in place in case that happens, right? All right, we're gonna have to take a right. You know, it's kind of hard to hit a stop sign, put your hand out, let people know you're turning right when you're trying to hit the brake at the same time. This is the problem with hand signals. So, where was I? You know, yeah, the battery is sitting in the basket itself. That's kind of nice, actually. So yeah, good fit for it. I don't know why all these cars are so far back from the line. All the cars are about 6 feet behind me. You know, those sensors, I don't know if the sensors on the ground really go that far back. I think is when people look over the hood, they think they're a certain distance in front, but in reality they're not, because the hood sticks out longer than what they can actually see is the front of their vehicle. So they're way behind. Alright, we just gotta wait our turn. So I have no real, oh, that guy's going fast. I have no real place I really need to go or want to be. So I figured I'd just ride around, take some of the roads we usually take. We're heading towards the Arlington Heights area, I think. So maybe we'll go around there. Alright, we should be coming up here. There we go. So we'll go around there, we'll see how it is. And as usual, I'll use my throttle to get myself started on from a dead stop. Now, I know enough this time. Let the cars go ahead of me because I got to get to the left lane, left side here, because I'm going to take a left at that stop sign. And then wherever that takes me, that's where we're going. All right? Now, the interesting thing with this particular bike, the battery meter that's on here, it gives you a percentage, but I think that's a percentage under load, because as you throttle, that percentage will drop dramatically. And when you let up on the throttle, that percentage will rise again. So although it's the accurate way of measuring it, the hard part is I don't really know where I'm at. I don't know if it's gonna die. I don't know whether it's got more battery power to get me places. So it's kind of hard. This is why I need to know the actual mileage. Oh, here's an interesting thing. You know, people would ask me before in the past, how is that Suntour seat post compared to a seat post that just goes up and down? Because a Suntour, as you know, kind of goes a little bit backwards, right? Goes down and goes a little bit backwards. Yeah, the Suntour's better. It's not that the other one doesn't function. It does, and it feels pretty good. The Suntour feels a little better. So it's a little more natural feeling. Let's take a right here. I would take a right. I would use a hand signal, but I can't stick my hand out while I'm hitting the brakes, sadly. So, yeah, Suntour feels a little bit better. And then the question always has been, how's the seat post compared to the soft tail bike, to the Magicycle Deer? It's different. It's different. I kind of feel like if you're on something with like the Deer, where you have a this guy ran over all this dirt and dust and just kind of threw it right into my face. Oh, it's going into my eyes as well. This is the problem with being on a bike. I didn't do it on purpose. It was on the road. The minute he rode over the dust pile, it just kicked it up. That's what it did. All right, time for us to go. So, all right, what are we talking about? The Deer? Yeah, the Deer. It's a different feel. I think it's like the bike taking up the shock versus still getting the shock, but letting the bike getting the shock, but getting the shock of hitting the imperfection on the road is what I'm saying. It's like the bike still getting it, but then your seat post is making you feel good, but the bike doesn't feel so good. Does that make any sense? Versus the Deer, which has a suspension on the rear of the bike, when you hit that imperfection on the road, the bike is compensated. And because the bike is feeling compensated, you feel compensated from it too, because your you're on that rigid seat post that's going up and down with the entire bike. So I would say this, I tend to prefer that for the bike, but the seat post, this Suntour seat post, feels softer to me when it does its thing, because it's directly connected to my butt, right, through the saddle. So I think for the most part, most people would be perfectly fine with just a suspension seat post. But the perfectionist in me says that the soft-tail bike or soft-tail bike would actually be a better performance as far as a ride is concerned. Does that make any sense? I guess you got to feel it for yourself to understand it, but the suspension seat post feels cushier, yeah, because it's directly connected to your saddle. All right, here another thing too. You just going talking back about that particular bike. You cannot adjust that suspension, so it's preset for a certain amount, and that's it. It's a spring, and that's it. You have no adjustment that you can do. But on the seat posts, you do have adjustments to how much of the bounce you want. So there's some flexibility there. All right, we'll go straight. So here's the thing. On the Euphree, the Suntour seat post comes with the bike. It's not an option. It comes with it. That's just the way it is, which is nice. Other bikes, yeah, you gotta buy it. I don't think these things are that cheap either. I think, what is it, about $110, something like that? Am I right or wrong? Russ is never wrong. I told you guys that. Look it up. Depends on where you buy it, right? So, yeah, either way is fine. I think, people have been telling me for a couple years now, get yourself a suspension seat post. You'll never regret it. They might be right. Yeah, those guys are right too. All right, let's see, where are we going? Should we go straight? Should we? Yeah, let's go straight. Let's see what happens. So anyway, I kind of like the cushiness of it all. Getting spoiled. Like I said before, I used to just stand up on the pedals a little bit, kind of let my legs take the shock of it all. But there's times that you don't see the imperfection in the road and you hit it. Well then, if you're still seated, you feel it. Not if you have a suspension seat post or a soft tail bike. Yeah. All right, I know where I am. Yeah, we'll go straight. We will go straight. Hey, we got to be in this lane because that right lane is a right turn lane. So technically, if I was over there, I wouldn't be able to go straight. I'd have to turn, and I'm not gonna. Now, it's a little chillier today, but still decent. It's about 67 right now. I don't think it's going to get anything better than 68 today. What time is it? It's 12:07 right now. Well, yeah, it's not going to get any better. I'm wearing the same stuff as I have been wearing for the last couple rides. Just the long sleeve, my gloves, the yellow safety vest. I've got shorts on. 70 degrees is my ideal. That's my ideal, but yeah, we don't have 70 degrees, and with the wind hitting me, I can definitely feel it. All right, let's pull into here. I'm gonna check my front wheel, make sure that's on there tightly. So one thing I didn't check today. I usually check the wheels and everything. We'll just pull off. Let me do the check. I can kind of show you the bike too at the same time. Let's just go into this space here. Let's put down the kickstand. So, oh yeah, here's what I have for the second battery. It's in this airbag, so to speak. And I got a little bungee cord here, and I put this down here too, just kind of hold it in place. So, let me check, make sure everything's tight. Oh yeah, it's tight. Everything's good. Yeah, always double check your wheels too, because sometimes your wheels can loosen up. If you have a quick release, you want to check that. And let me see if I can tighten up our suspension a little bit. It's a little too tight. Okay. Should probably check the preload. Tighten that up a little bit. Okay. Hit the throttle by accident. Yeah, don't do that while you're pushing down. Alright, all of a sudden there's a ton of cars here. I'm trying to get through. I want to make sure there's no car there when I'm cutting across. Alright, so where are we at? Straight ahead of us is RUSSISRIGHT High School in Arlington Heights. I think this guy's gonna be taking a right, so I'm gonna let him do that first. Go ahead. Let him go first. Kids are loud sometimes. Yeah, they got turn signals or crossing signals for the kids. So I'm gonna let all these cars go by first. No reason for me to have to go in there. Let them get out of there. All right. I'd say it's pretty windy today. I don't know if you can hear all the wind coming through there or not, but it's a little windy today. I think if it was windy like this and it was like 72 degrees, it would be pretty good. Because then it would feel like you're getting like built-in air conditioning. Now it's just a little chilly. All right. So everything's good. All right, what else should we talk about while we're taking this ride? That's a kind of nice house. It's got a circular driveway. Not a half circle, totally circular. I don't think I've ever seen one like that before. Yeah, this is a little tougher road to be on because it's just 2 lane, one on the left side, one on the right side. So if they want to pass you, they have to really kind of get into that other lane. I'm not going really fast because my intention was not to really blast through. So to kind of ride at the ranges I would normally ride at, which would be on average about 18 miles per hour. So I'm on pedal assist level 4, it's giving me between 18 and 20.8 on average, I think. All right, I think if we were to cut through here, I'm not really sure which direction. I would tend to think to the left, but if we were to cut through here, then I'm going to go. We would eventually end up in the Prospect Heights Trail. Maybe we'll do that on the way back, and then when it exits out, maybe we can hit Lake Arlington. I was going to do Lake Arlington with the Rad Rover 5, but Yeah, I was anxious to get back because I had a package that got delivered on our doorstep, and of course with package thieves stealing things, I didn't want that to be stolen, with a fairly large package too, so it's pretty obvious it was leaning up against our door. Now of course, as you're fighting headwinds, that's not too good either. That's going to affect your range. But yeah, we're going right into a headwind here. Yeah, it is what it is, right? Because you don't have ideal conditions all the time. You get good conditions, you get bad conditions. Well, right now, a little windy, kind of cold. I prefer to ride with shorts on. However, I understand that if you ride with shorts on, you fall, then your knees get it, right? That's not good for me, as you know. All right, now the good thing is there's a car in front of us on the opposite direction there. They should be triggering the light for us. Of course, there's a car behind me. I think he probably wants to turn, but I'm in his way. Oh well, what can I say? I mean, if you tried to help every driver out and move to the side and get to the crosswalk area, and then you had to move back to the road, it's kind of a hassle for us too. You know, just to make it easy for them, sometimes it's a hassle for us. So, yeah, they got to learn to live with it too. Okay, I think we're about ready to go. Wildlife crossing, next mile and a half. What kind of wildlife do you have out here? Squirrels? Yeah, I saw a squirrel get run over recently. Yeah, he tried to cross over, didn't make it. Got hit by a car. I knew he wasn't going to make it unless he would do what typical squirrels do, which is run, stop, take a look around. Oh, I'm not going to make it. Back up, go back the other way. He didn't. He kept going forward. He was trying to cross Palatine Road. Well, that's a 4-lane highway, and he also had the left turn lane to contend with, and he made it all the way through just before hitting that left turn lane, and somebody ran him over. Felt sorry for him. I actually ran over a squirrel once too. 2 squirrels were playing, and the other squirrel chased the other squirrel out, and of course he got run over by me because I didn't see him coming out that fast. He wasn't paying attention, so he tried to back up, and that's when he got it. Felt bad. You could definitely feel the bump when you run over a squirrel. So it's not like you don't know you did it, because I knew I did it. I circled back around. Poor thing was already gone. And the sad part was the other squirrel was looking at him, because I think that squirrel knew it was its fault. Sad story. Those type of things don't make me feel good. Now, of course, you may say, but Russ, you you worked homicides and stuff when you were working in law enforcement. That's true. Doesn't mean I don't feel sad for the squirrels too, right? I feel sad for everybody. I feel sad for the homicide victims. I feel sad for the families of the people who were the murderers. I feel bad for them too, because they're affected by this. Yeah, I feel sad for the families of the murdered victims. Yeah, nobody wins out of this, believe me. I once worked a defense case after I had left the DA's office and I was doing forensic work on my own. I once worked a forensic case for the defense, and I got to understand a little bit more about how those things affected the family members of the murderer. And I talked to them, and they said, yeah, people never realize that we are affected as well, because they have ruined their own lives by doing what they did, the murderer that is, and they've ruined our lives too, because now we are totally affected by all the things that had occurred as well. So yeah, you kind of get to see both sides if you work both sides of the cases, right? I mean, if all I worked was prosecution cases, which is the majority of what I ended up working on when I was at the DA's office, you don't understand that other side. So I'm kind of glad I had a chance to work that case, just so that I could understand how more than just the victims' families are affected. It's kind of sad. All right, where are we at? We're still in Prospect Heights, but I think we're heading towards Mount Prospect. I think once you cross over Euclid Road, you're now in Mount Prospect. So yeah, we're very close to the Prospect Heights Trail. I think we'll take that back, and then we'll head over to Arlington Lake Arlington. That's what they call it. Okay, let's speed up a little bit. Feel bad for the cars that are behind me. They can't make their pass when there's cars on the other lane. And of course, they probably feel bad that they're stuck behind me. And of course, I'm not going right up to that white line. I'm forcing them to make the pass if they want to pass me. That's really your safest bet. Let them do that, okay? A lot of bikes might go right up to that white line, and then they'll squeeze you to the white line. I don't want to do that either. All right, we were in this general area when I took the Rad Rover. We ended up getting here a different way. You notice I got here a lot quicker now too, because we didn't take all the side streets to get here. It was a more direct path. I'm gonna pass through here, take another side street, because taking Euclid Road is not gonna be fun on the bike. I'd rather go around it. Alright, the guy's probably thinking, why am I stuck behind this guy? I'm gonna have to let him know I'm gonna turn at this stop sign, so at least he knows that's my intention to do. That he's not stuck behind me the entire time. There you go, buddy. Now you can go on your own. He's probably good. That bike rider finally got off. Yeah, I can feel that wind. It's kind of chilly. It's kind of chilly. Our temperatures have gone all over the place. Next week we'll be in the 90s. So you get cold wind today. In a couple of days it'll be in the 80s, and it'll eventually hit the 90s. That's unbelievable. All right. All right, now if you take a look at the battery meter, under load, when I hit the throttle, it says I got 39 to 43%, depending on how hard I hit that throttle. %, something like that. Now it says 16.8, and we said that it was around 10 miles on the trip meter before, something like that. So we've gone only 6.8 miles, something. Now again, I don't know how much that percentage really means to me. It doesn't mean a whole lot. I'd rather know the final end result, and then I can pretty much calculate, okay, let's say it's 30 miles, all right? If it said that I was at 20 miles, I know I got 10 more miles left to go. I'd rather know it that way than what this battery thing tells me. It's my personal preference of knowing my ranges. Oh, here's an interesting thing too. The last ride I took the Rad Rover 5, and the triangle battery, when it was fresh and new, used to get me about 44 miles. Yeah. This time around, not so much, because I know as the batteries wear, you tend to lose some range. I didn't check the final total, but I know I didn't drive 44 miles before it finally died. So batteries will start losing range. So even if your maximum says a certain amount, you don't really have that as your batteries get older. You should really kind of know what your batteries are doing on a yearly basis, it sounds like then, right? The thing is, if you have a second battery, you don't worry so much about things. If you don't have a second battery, then you start to worry. Alright, I'm going to have to go up here because I know that this thing says that it prefers that bike riders get up on here to push the button to cross. So we will do that. Now let's see if these guys actually stop or whether they're going to blast through. It turned green. Since it turned green, we don't really know. Don't really know. Alright, we're back here. What's the name of this park? I can't remember. I don't know. Can't remember. I knew it at one time. I don't know what it is now. There's cars in the way there. Alright, we're going to have to go around. I usually cut through, but they have cars up on the sidewalk. Yeah, it sounds kind of funny, but service vehicles. I think they're maybe offloading some supplies or something. They have a couple vans. So they have a driving range on our left. And it looks like kids are here, so I'm guessing day camp or something. That is a mini golf course right there. This guy's practicing his putting. So we go around. We don't usually go through this way, but I know it exists. So we're gonna do it. We won't be on here that long. We'll be ending up at another area, which will then bring us back to the Prospect Heights Trail. A noisy bridge. Okay. Well, we were going to go to the Prospect Heights Trail anyway. This is just another way of doing it. And here is the Prospect Heights Trail. Let's make sure we don't run into any people. Yep, we're clear, we're good. All right, back on the trail. I think the last time when I was on the Rad Rover 5, I didn't show you the reversed way of the trail. So this time you get to see that. And then we'll hit Lake Arlington. And then we'll call it quits. Definitely colder. Man, we're only talking, what was that, 1 day since I rode that other thing, the Rad Rover 5. 1 day, and now it's so cold. All right, we'll hang back here. I know she's kind of suffering through here, but that's okay. We'll take it easy. We're all gonna have to cross that street anyway, so. past after we cross. Thank you. All right. Now, I didn't want to pass her while she was struggling to go up. It would just make it tougher for her. All right, so we are going in the opposite direction now from the last time we were out here. And like I mentioned before, this path is kind of beat up. You see, every few feet we run into a cross thing here, and you just hit the bump. Now, because I have the suspension seat post, I'm not really feeling that so much. I can feel it in my feet, on my pedals, but as far as my seat, not so much. Okay, what maybe I should do. All right, hold on here. Let's probably loosen up this suspension a little bit more too. Because yeah, it's kind of a beat up path, as you can hear too. Because we keep hitting those cross sections that are broken open and repaired. Not as much fun like that, you know. So the front suspension's taking the jarring out of my hands. The seat suspension is taking the jarring out of my butt. The deer would do very well on this as well, because then the whole bike is suspension, and the bike is kind of protected in that sense then. Let's see how we're doing here. Okay, we're good. Oh, a couple of you guys said, looking at the video where I ran into my former student on the trike, it's like, what happened to your gloves? You know, that tells me that you guys notice things. Yeah, you notice what I'm actually doing. Yeah, I forgot the gloves. Forgot to bring the gloves, and a couple of you asked me, how come your audio is starting to sound worse? Yeah, I didn't bring the audio recorder either. So I had to use the audio from the GoPro. I wasn't really going to record anything on that one ride. I was just gonna go out there, but I figured I'll turn on the recorder, and then of course I didn't bring the audio recorder. So we relied on the recording from the GoPro. And of course, with all the noise from the wind and all the other things, it's very noisy. So on my editing software, I have an option to remove background noises. So when you do that, it makes your voice sound better by eliminating the background noise, but it also makes it sound a little artificial because it's doing digital things to try to compensate for it. That dog is very well behaved. Just sat there and waited for us to cross. Man, this road is really hacked up. It is really hacked up. In this direction, somehow it seems like it's worse. I don't know. Can you guys hear that? Like, we're hitting every bump in the world here. I'm staying on the line, hoping that maybe for some reason that would give me a better feel, but yeah, terrible. So yeah, a couple recordings I've done it was kind of like that, where I had to use the GoPro audio. Sometimes the audio recorder kicks out for whatever reason. Either the button gets pushed accidentally to stop it, or something, you know, something messes it up. So there's always the GoPro audio that's built into the camera to fall back on. But you know, if you just let it go as it is, it doesn't sound that good. So what I do is I process it through the editing software to kind of eliminate the noise. But the audio in general is pretty bad, so I actually have to equalize the sound of the audio as well to make it sound better than what it would have been if I just left it alone and just let the noise reduction thing take out the noise. I know some of you guys know what I'm talking about, others don't, but you have to remember too, I used to work in forensic audio. I am a court-qualified forensic audio expert, as well as photography and video. But my first expertise in court was actually forensic audio. I got court-qualified, talking about how, a specific case, how the audio was, well, I can't go really into specifics, but let's put it this way. They go through a process called voir dire, where they, in my case, I work for the prosecution, I work for the DA's office. Prosecution says we'd like to offer me as a expert witness, which means I can give opinion evidence. And of course the defense is going to say, no, we object, he hasn't been qualified in court yet. So then they got to go through the whole thing of what is your qualification, what is your background, all this type of baloney. It took about 45 minutes. It took a long time, because after you tell what you did and why you feel you're qualified to say what you're saying, then the defense, of course, comes up and they try to rip you apart, make you look like an idiot, you know, trying to say that you're not qualified, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of all that, then the judge, which is Superior Court of California, turns around and makes a decision whether he feels you're qualified in court to testify as a court expert or not. Well, we all know that Russ is never wrong, and I got qualified in court. But that was my first audio thing, was for audio. So I have some background, I know what I'm talking about. I used to work in the stereo industry. I told you guys that before when I first got out of college. We owned a stereo store. My dad opened it up and I worked there for 8 years. I have a lot of background in audio. I'm a musician as well, as you know. And so yeah, I've got a lot of knowledge in audio. So that's what I did to that recording. So even though it sounds a little weird because the digital part is kind of eliminating those background noises, but kind of affecting your voice as well, it's still better to have that than the straight up GoPro audio, because the straight up is just a little too noisy, a little bit not good at all. Let's put it that way. Better to use the audio that I'm using right now. This time, of course, we have the audio recorder. Hopefully it's still running. But on occasion, if you hear some weirdness on some recordings, just know that this thing happens usually because of the fact that something happened to the digital audio recorder or the microphone or something, forcing me to use the audio that's built into the GoPro. The microphones there are not the greatest. In general, the microphone I'm using now with my audio recorder is pretty decent. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty decent. Now, the others have asked me why I don't use a wireless system. Well, it's because the audio on this is pretty decent. I don't know how good the other microphones are going to be. This is not a cheap microphone. It's a wired system. I have to use a specialized recorder that'll give me phantom powering. And so, yeah, it's a little more involved, but it sounds pretty decent when it's working. So that's why I use it. And really, I don't need to be wireless. I'm not moving around that much. I'm kind of still here, in the same spot all the time. So what I've been doing now is I'm wearing the digital audio recorder on basically around my waist. It's on a belt system. Yeah, I used to put it in a front basket. I used to hang it off my shoulder. Then I kind of thought about it. I go, wait a minute, I could just strap this around my waist and just wear it. So yeah, it's off to my left side on kind of like on a belt system. That actually has turned out to be the best way to do it. It doesn't get in my way. The cables don't seem to be as much in my way. Okay, I've got to go. This is a bumpy road. This is a really hacked up path, that's for sure. I mean, we literally, I don't know how much distance it is. Every 20 feet, maybe? All right, here's the longer one. It took a while to hit one. But it feels like almost every 20, 30 feet, you're running into a bump. Still, I go on this path quite a bit. We're just kind of coasting right now. I'm trying to see what my battery level actually says when I'm not actually using the battery. It says 42% still. We're at 20.8 miles, which means we're about 10.8 miles of riding so far. See, right now, the grasses and stuff look pretty good, but later on in the year, all this stuff on the right side is going to grow up. It's going to be just like a bunch of weeds. Now, they protect that somehow, for whatever reasons they do it. They let it grow. But to me, it's a bunch of weeds. This is the uninformed person's evaluation of botany. Yeah, anything that's not good, to me, it's a weed. Sorry for those who actually appreciate plants and stuff. I just don't have an appreciation. Yeah, not that I don't like plants. It doesn't do anything for me. All right, let's see how we're doing here. We're doing good. We can make it. How are we doing on that side? Okay, we're gonna have to cut across here like this. Sorry to do it this way, but I need to make sure I'm across the street before that car gets here. All right, so now we're gonna head over to Lake Arlington. I believe there should be an entrance on one of these side streets. And again, I'm not really pushing hard on the throttling, and on occasion I am pedaling every now and then. That's how I usually will ride. You know, when I'm not on camera. I think, is it here? I don't know if it's here. I think it's the next one. That's how I normally ride when I'm not recording with you guys, is I will pedal and throttle. But usually when I'm on camera, I'm throttling more than pedaling because I really don't want to think about the pedaling. Now you may be wondering why. We turn here? I don't know. Is it one more? Maybe it's one more. Let me go further. I don't want to be thinking about the pedaling, and as you know, sometimes my knee will ache a little bit, and so I just don't need more than that. No, that's no outlet. I don't know if this goes to. Let's go here. I don't know where this goes. It says no trespassing. Well, okay. I just want to know if this cuts into the. Yeah, it should cut into Lake Arlington, but they've blocked it off. Why did they block it off? I just need to go over there. Let me see if I can just walk up over there. I don't know why it's been blocked off to get in here. Yeah, this should be typically open. Motorized vehicles prohibited. Well, that's that whole talk about that again, right? But this is Lake Arlington. Oh, I see. Okay, there's a lot of babies here. You gotta be careful of that. The thing with this area, because there's water and lake, is there's usually a lot of goose poop. So you've got to be careful what you're running over here, or you bring it back home. All right, this lady's in the middle of the road here. Just let her know I'm here. And so, yeah, there's not a whole lot of people here today. This place could be really packed with people. I think the very first time I came out here with my bike, it was so many people I could barely get through. And they have a different thing. I think on the left side, it's not a left and right. The left side is kind of like for walking, and the right side is for biking. It's kind of confusing, quite frankly. People don't really know what to follow. Walking lane. You see, it says walking lane on this side, which would make this biking lane, I guess. But what if a bike is going the opposite direction? How do we get by each other then? That's what I want to know. This thing's kind of beat up too. Now we hear some additional bouncing because I have that battery in the back, on the back basket. So we do hear some of that. Alright, so I'm paying attention. I'm trying my best to avoid any goose poop. You can see it on the road. I'm just kind of going in and out of things, trying to avoid it. There's a lot of geese because you got water. It's like an obstacle course here. You know, we didn't have this when I was growing up. But for some reason, all the Canadian geese have flown south and never left. They adopted our area to stick around. That's why we have so many. All right, now we got some geese up ahead with babies. All right, we made it through. All geese are alive. Nothing got run over. Yeah, there's a guy down there fishing. All right, so that is Lake Arlington. It's kind of a small enclosed little lake. Anyways, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll put a graphic up here, let you know what I ended up with as far as the total mileage is concerned. Right now, as we're riding here, it says that's 22.4, which means 12.4 miles so far. I'll let you know what we end up at. Talk to you guys next time.